Hey there, and welcome back to the Brain Set Free podcast. I am your host, Ryan Walters. I am so glad that you're joining me today. Looking forward to a good discussion. I'm going to provide some things that hopefully will be helpful for you and relevant. So let's jump right in. So just want to start off by asking a question. Do you ever feel like you are too easily triggered by situations or events that don't really call for it? I think most of us can relate. You have a moment, you have something that happens and you just get triggered and you're stuck then ruminating on it, and all of that nervousness and fear and maybe the increased heart rate gets activated. You've probably been there. You're like revved up and you're ready to just kind of take off and flee, escape the situation, or fight or flight response. And if so, which again, we've all been there, but if you find that this happens to you often, or it's sort of an ongoing thing where even throughout your day, you're sort of just in this place of responding out of what feels to be stress, anxiety, and getting triggered. If that's the case, you could be stuck in what we call the stress response, or getting stuck in it for prolonged periods of time. So today I'm going to talk about the stress response, talk a little bit about stress in general. Is stress a bad thing? Talk about what it's for, what the purpose of it is, and some just basic understanding about what we can do to begin to change uh, our stress response to these situations that trigger us. And we'll get into some of that stuff. But what is stress? I think we all know what stress is, but it can be good to just define or even put language to it. So simply put, stress is it's an emotional response to some sort of trigger, usually something external. It could be a situation at work, an argument you have with your spouse, you're in your car, you have a close call, almost have a wreck, whatever, a looming deadline, a test coming up. It's usually a response to some sort of trigger, an emotional response to an external trigger. So your symptoms, we again probably know what a lot of those are. They can differ for people, but you can get this irritability, agitated. It can lead to poor sleep when it is ongoing stress. And then it can lead to health issues, again, when it's prolonged, even into anxiety and anxiety disorder, when this is an ongoing, excessive worry, which is what anxiety is, that doesn't go away even without the stressor. Okay. That's just a quick overview about stress. What is the purpose of stress, though? Does it have a purpose? Well, the answer is yes. So at the core, stress is really nothing more than a survival mechanism. Okay. So it's meant to help keep you alive so you can keep doing the things you want to do. So your brain, what happens is detects some sort of threat, and it recognizes something that it feels like it needs to be afraid of or worried about, like there's some sort of danger. So the example that people, I think, commonly use is you see a bear in the woods. Okay. So what happens in this moment? You're out in the woods and you see this bear. Suddenly you respond and your stress response activates. So your brain starts to release these chemicals known as neurotransmitters, such as adrenaline, right? And what this does, it causes that heart to increase, pumping fast. Maybe you begin to sweat. You get all this blood flow to your muscles. You get glucose for more energy, and this is so that you can act quickly, immediately, right? You can get ready to fight or get ready to flee, and this is the fight or flight response. So it serves a good purpose. Your stress response is intended to help you, right? It can even be um, almost a superpower at times. You hear these stories where you'll hear on the news like there was a wreck or something and a car flipped over and two people went over and they like picked up the car and moved it to get the person out or something, right? They had this strength and ability that they maybe would not have had in just a regular non life or death situation. So what has happened is their stress response has kicked in. They've gotten all this extra energy. Um, Parts of their body, like the digestive system, have sort of gone into shutting down so that more of your blood and energy can just go to responding in the moment, right? So they almost have this superhuman power. Okay. So the stress response, it's actually a good thing, right? It's not innately bad or wrong or harmful to you. It is a survival tool, and it is normal for your body to be able to respond to danger. Again, if you see the bear in the woods, if you need to swerve while you're driving really quickly, this is a good thing. It shifts you into this fight or flight mode so that you can react quickly and with the energy you need. So it allows you to do, really extraordinary things in these moments. So it is a gift, but in the proper context and situationally. Okay, where it becomes not so good, chemicals like adrenaline, which get activated during the stress response, are intended to be released for short durations and in just these small amounts for a brief period of time. Okay, when adrenaline and these chemicals are released in larger amounts and longer duration, it can be harmful and damaging to your health, to your body. Those chemicals are not meant to stay at those levels for extended periods of time. And when we get stuck in this stress response, that's essentially what's happening. We're responding to things that we don't really need to be with stress and fear. And it's keeping us in this cycle, in this loop. And even if you're really tired, you probably know what this feels like. You could be really tired, but you're almost ramped up. You're almost like on edge and you can't sit still. So like your body's tired, but you're still in this stress response, right? And you're responding to things that don't call for the stress response to be activated. They're not dangerous. They're not life or death situations. So this can be really hard on your body, as I said, on your immune system, your digestive system. You start causing like brain fog and difficulty concentrating, um, and just really all sorts of symptoms, irritability and so on and so forth. Can be really even physically painful. I know when I was at my sort of lowest point with anxiety disorder and this stress response just sort of being activated all the time, and I was just sort of stuck in it, I would have this physical chest pain and discomfort it was brutal. And I still get it at times. And it felt like this tightness and this tension, and I couldn't rest. I couldn't sit still. I couldn't sleep. It's an awful thing to experience. So stress response is not bad, but it becomes an issue when we get stuck in it, when it becomes overactivated. We're overly sensitive to these things that don't really require it. This relates in a dysregulated nervous system, is what we would call it. So an imbalance in your autonomic nervous system, and this leads to this chronic anxiety, and potentially chronic anxiety leads to this anxiety disorder, which is where I was at. And some of you probably know and can relate to. Anxiety disorders affect millions of people. It is an incredibly common disorder and lots of undiagnosed anxiety disorder. People just don't know, they don't get it treated, so on and so forth. So when you get stuck in this fight or flight, which is hyperarousal or this even hypoarousal, You can deal with physical pain in your body. I would deal with joint muscle tension, tightness, again, sleep issues. Memory can be a big problem. Struggle to just remember, like your short-term memory gets affected. I would have to read things multiple times. I was always feeling on edge. I would get incredibly overwhelmed very easily. Like if things were loud and kind of chaotic, especially, I could just get really overwhelmed. I always had this feeling like something bad was going to happen, just always on edge, ready to respond, ready for something not good, right? I think you probably can relate if you're here listening to this. So, read a quote from Psychology Today about nervous system dysregulation. It said it can be difficult to explain how this feels. It can be equally difficult to experience nervous system dysregulation. The feelings can trigger deep shame, like there's something wrong with you. Shame is saying there's something wrong with me at my core, something off. I'm bad or defective in some way. Okay, so it can trigger shame, which leads to a cycle that gets reinforced by the same feelings of dread that the person is trying to escape. Because of these intense and unpleasant emotional and physical experiences, some compare a dysregulated nervous system to simultaneously having one foot on the accelerator and one foot on the brake, all while trying to function. I think that is a great way to describe it. I know what that feels like. You're amped up, revved up, ready to fight, ready to, fight or flee. And at the same time, you may be exhausted and your body knows that it needs to be able to calm and relax, but you just can't. You're trying to function in this state, and it's really tough. And you're dealing with these underlying feelings of shame and frustration, and it all just sort of magnifies and encourages this cycle to continue. It's a really, really tough place to be. And so if you're there, I feel you. I promise I get it. But there is good news. We don't have to stay stuck in this place. Just as our bodies and our nervous systems can become dysregulated, there are steps we can take, there are practices we can put into place that will begin to encourage the regulation of our nervous system, to help regulate an overactive amygdala and nervous system. And it takes time and it takes work, it takes intentionality. But just like we didn't get into that place overnight of being stuck in the fight or flight response, we're not going to just get out of it overnight. I know that at one point I just wanted quick fix, and I had to come to realize that's just not usually the way it's going to happen. God can work miracles, and I believe God for miracles. He could heal you in an instant, but I'm learning more and more with the mental health stuff. It's a journey because there's so much to learn, and the journey is a big part of it, the process. So our brains, as I mentioned in, I think, the opening episode, our brains can physiologically be rewired, changed, and there are these practices we can engage in if we'll do them consistently over time that even the neuroscience is showing help encourage a calmer nervous system, help your nervous system get back to a place where its foundation is more at peace and restful, ready to respond to those potential dangers or threats, but then able to go back to normal functioning after the situation ends, right? So again, you're driving in your car, someone pulls out in front of you, you swerve, your heart starts racing and your blood is you can just feel it pumping, right? And that's okay. That's a good thing. But after a few minutes, hopefully you're able to calm back down, begin to get clear-minded again. Okay, that's what we want. That's the way our nervous system is designed to function. But again, for those of us that are stuck in this nervous system stress response, we don't calm back down usually very easily, or we're just sort of in this hyper activated place. So I always like to bring the research into it just to show that it's backed up, that these ideas that I'm sharing aren't just things that I'm making up or just my own theories. So the National Library of Medicine, they conducted some research where they examined 24 studies. So 24 studies that were conducted. They analyzed them, pulled them together, and pulled that information and the findings to come up with some conclusions. And they found that mindfulness, which is simply the ability to be presently focused and aware on what's going on right here and now, and engaging your symptoms in a non-judgmental way. And I'm going to talk about mindfulness specifically and more deeply in the next episode. But there are mindfulness practices, and don't let that word trigger you. I know for some people it sounds kind of weird. It's not. There's scriptural references even to it. And it's, again, being able to be present in the moment is the foundation of it. But they found that mindfulness strategies are effective for anxiety and mood, to improve anxiety and mood issues. Okay. And again, biblically, even speaking, being present. Scripture says the birds of the air, they don't worry about, what they're going to eat. They don't worry about tomorrow. They're living in the present and they're cared for and they're okay. Okay. We got to be able to learn to enjoy and be in the present. And what that does is help train and teach our brains that there's no actual threat. Where you are right now, if you're dealing with some anxiety disorder, stuck in that stress response, you have the feeling almost probably that there's threat, that there's danger. But likely you're sitting on your couch right now watching this or whatever you're doing, and there's not actually any danger. And so by practicing mindfulness techniques, it is shown that it's helping to retrain your brain to be in the moment where you actually are safe. There's no danger, there's no threat. And it begins to condition your mind, your brain to be calmer and to be less reactive. And this is a great resource, mindfulness practices. You can Google them. There's so many of them, and I'll talk more. I'll do a demonstration even in the next video. But back to the faith aspect of it. The scripture from Luke 12, I mentioned it. It says, "Consider the ravens. They do not sow or reap. They don't have storeroom or barn, but God feeds them. And you're much more valuable than birds. Who of you can live to be one day longer simply by worrying? If you can't be sure of the smallest things in life, what's the point of worrying about the bigger ones? Consider how even the tallest trees, covered in beautiful, multicolored leaves, they're not like the birds, but they're beautiful and admired. And yet, even God is concerned about birds. So he gives them food. He will care for your needs. So don't be afraid to ask him." Then we're coming up on the part that I really like. "Seek first his kingdom, his righteousness. All these things will be given to you. Don't be anxious about tomorrow. Tomorrow will worry about itself." And here's where the real mindfulness part comes in. Just enjoy the present moment. Yeah, I know that's easier said than done. If you would have told me that at one point when I was at my worst, I would have been like, yeah, great advice. Just enjoy the present moment. I'm suffering. I'm in a horrible place. I can't get on top of these symptoms. I know, I get it, but I just want to, in this episode, give you hope and let you know that it's possible. And there are tools that can help. And as we begin to implement these tools consistently, we will begin to see changes. I've experienced it in my own life. I've seen it with others. Again, I've been to intensive treatment programs and I've seen great change in my mental health. It's possible with the work. You don't have to stay stuck. God has given you the keys to literally just the most incredible, complex, and powerful structure in the universe, and that's your brain. You get to lead it. You get to guide it. It is there to serve you as you live in this life to create and accomplish things and do good works. And you have the keys to it. We just have to learn how to teach the brain to serve us. And that's what we're going to do here. I'm going to teach you so many cool tricks, again, with intentionality and consistency, hard work. And it is hard work. If you're in this place of being stuck, it's hard. It's not easy. I'm not going to give you any quick fixes. And I know I wanted that at one point, but the faster that you can come to the place of simply saying, okay, this is a process. It's going to take as long as it takes. The better off you'll be, the more you'll be able to encourage healing to happen at a faster rate. Okay. And you can create a foundation in your brain. We can rewire your brain to begin to experience those fruits of the Spirit: love, joy, peace, patience, all those fruits of the Spirit. Where that is more of our foundation. We are operating more from that place and then able to respond to things, but then come back to that place. And that's what we want. And that's where your life becomes more healthy and happier, and where you're able to be more resilient and handle hard things. Okay, so we're going to learn a lot. This was just a quick overview of the stress response. We could spend weeks talking about the stress response and how it works and what happens, and I'll get a lot more into it. But I just wanted to do a little bit of a quick video to share with you about what happens when we get stuck in the stress response, to let you know that you're not alone. You're not crazy. You're not going crazy. Our bodies learn to react and be conditioned, but we can change our brains, and it's an amazing thing. So if you want more resources, brainsetfree.com. I am certified to coach a brain rewiring program. That's a much more intensive program that takes you through 7 modules. It's called the Limbic System Rewire. It takes you through 7 modules. I'll coach you through those. And it's a 4-month program. It'll really help you, and you'll begin to see some changes. I really believe that, if you're willing to put in the work. So go there, check that out, see if it's something that might be interesting to you or helpful. Thanks for joining, and have an amazing day.